freezing, the first day of the season. Yeah, when it comes to retrieving, old Duke's on his game. A John boat, a couple of mojos. Shoot, they gon' know that we don't play. Well, somebody say amen. Let's give 'em black water baptism.
Welcome to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Realtree Outdoors, Browning Firearms, and Browning Ammo. Here's your hosts, Caleb Wallace, Cole Barthel, and Kyle Bearfield.
Welcome to episode 5 of the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. Right around the corner is hunting season, which means even closer around the corner is no tax weekend. September 4th, 5th, and 6th here at Simmons Sporting Goods is absolutely no tax on anything in the store, online, in store. No tax, no interest, no excuse not to buy that new shotgun, right, or rifle, scope, waders, whatever.
I always think deer stand for some reason. Biggest purchases possible. That's redneck blinds, muddy blinds, Banks blinds, whatever's out there. They all pretty awesome, and you save a couple $100 too.
For sure. Growing up, my granddad, he used to buy all our fertilizer and seed, food plot seed, and all that stuff on this weekend, save a little money. But did I hear it correct that online sales too? No tax?
Online. Of course, anything over $100 free shipping. Absolutely zero tax on those 3 days. Anything in store or online. Anything you put on layaway. So you can come, 90-day layaway. You can come in here and put something on layaway that day. You can lay away right now. Guys, if you're listening, you know that's coming up here in the next few days. If you want to hold something till you pick up that day, anything you put on layaway, if you pick it up that weekend or put it on layaway that weekend, it's absolutely tax-free.
I know you're sitting on a pretty big layaway room as is, so take advantage of that, man. It's just, pistols, rifles, shotguns, clothes. Think ahead, man, because the weather's going to change. Even though here we are at the end of August, you may not think it is, but the weather's going to change.
That's right. A lot of people take advantage of that with layaway and no tax. It's a 90-day layaway. People want to come in here and they want to buy all their Christmas stuff, and they want to, they want all their Christmas stuff. They don't want to take it home or don't want to hide it from whoever it's from. Well, they'll come in here that weekend, pay for half of it, put it on layaway. You save your tax, and you got 90 days to pay for the rest of it, and you don't have to hide it anywhere for 90 days.
Yeah. It's a pretty sweet deal. I'm thinking about what I need to buy right now.
Well, then you got, we got dove season, 10 days?
Well, dove season, actually, and here in Louisiana, no tax is the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, September 4th, 5th, and 6th. Dove season opens on the 5th at, whatever legal shooting hours are that Saturday. So you got a lot of guys will, get in here that Friday, get all your dove stuff, or maybe you already got your dove stuff, but go dove hunting Saturday morning, come in here and get all your decoys, your duck shells, your deer hunting shells, your, like you said, deer stands, anything. Anything that you're going to need for this hunting season, you're going to need it. There's no reason not to buy it this weekend and save your sales tax. No
doubt, and especially with, it seems like I haven't dove hunted, like legitimately dove hunted in a while. Whether it's been working or food plots or out of town working somewhere, doing whatever, but I forget that it opens in the mornings. Well, shoot, man, get a good dove hunt, come in here, get something to eat, come to Bastrop, eat somewhere in town, or eat at the store. Man, buy all your shells, whatever you need to get, and I don't know. It's just something about no tax. You're going to save money. And I'm not saying the more you spend, the more you're going to save.
The more you save, heck
but anytime you got something in mind to get somebody a gift, and this, I know good and well there's going to be a Banks and a Redneck going home with me on no tax weekend, but I'm excited about it. So it's just a fun time because the weather's starting to change. Still hot, but, man, it's like no more vacations. School's starting back. Dove season's here, and before you know it, October 1st will be here. Then before you know that, goose season will be here, duck season will be here, and then rifle season's here for us. So, a rifle season for parts of us a little bit earlier. So it's getting exciting, and it's just a great weekend to go ahead and knock out a bunch of stuff that you need.
You missed one thing: college football.
College football, and luckily for us, we're all fans of the SEC. Me and Kyle have a little friendly we call it, I guess, a whiskey wager every year. It's a fifth of crown, my LSU Tigers versus his Auburn Tigers, and we were afraid we wasn't going to get to make that bet this year. We're going to arm wrestle for it or something, but we will. Looks like we will get to continue that.
It wouldn't be the same on a Saturday night at the hunting camp or wherever you at, or at home or whatever. You get in from hunting and you turn on TV.
Can't even imagine.
I mean, me and Kayla were huge LSU fans, and Kyle likes LSU, but he went to Auburn though. But it just wouldn't be the same as far as you getting off the deer stand. But I will say, man, the 2:30 games on Saturday drive me nuts because I hate base. I cannot stand basing my day. Like, it makes me. I'm either sitting on a deer stand watching on my phone. Or I usually don't not go hunting to watch the game, but man, I would rather be watching it on TV.
And for me too, 7:30 kickoff's perfect. We're up here at the store till 6, and later in the year till 7, and I mean 2:30 games. We got a TV screen here at the gun counter, and you can watch it, but you customer also, you got to attend to that customer no matter what's fixing to happen. If it's 4th and goal or whatever, you got to turn away and tend to your customer. So yeah, we're big 7:30 kickoff fans ourselves.
Me too. And I don't know.
One of my memories growing up involves hunting and college football together. That first weekend of the dove season when we're hunting, it's just back then we had to listen to it on the radio. We didn't have the phones and all that stuff, but that was part of the hunt. Was you sitting on a cooler, dove hunting the field, and you could listen to college football. I just think of it's probably because I was always hunting with Alabama fans, or at a place like that. But Eli Gold on the Alabama game while we're listening to shooting doves. So.
There's a couple of things that like pop in your head. When I think about dove season back then, I think of orange Gatorade, and I think of like a payday, and I think of sitting on a ice chest when I was little with my dad, and I don't know why that thought comes to my head. And,
I think of Cole's dad shooting at low birds and everybody ducking.
That's it.
Probably me too. So
that's it. My memories are a little more redneck. It's grill, tailgate, and cold beer.
I was talking when we were little. Man, when I was real little and barely could shoot, for some reason, orange Gatorade and payday. But man, it's just a fun time of the year, man. It's a good time because we've waited all summer long, and I don't know, it's just kind of exciting.
It's kicking off hunting season. You know that deer season's around the corner, and squirrel season's around the corner, and dove season's around the corner, and you get to get out and actually do some hunting and not just shoot skeet or shoot snakes or whatever it is.
Well, one more thing, we won't be talking about product this whole time, but I will tell you the amount of dove shells that are here. Caleb probably can get a little bit more specific to me, and man, they got your low brass, your high brass, everything you can dream of for dove hunting right now. And like I said, not a better time to come in and get it. And we're gonna talk a little bit about shotguns too a little bit later, and kind of what some personal preferences and
we as far as dove shells we got them from from Winchester Federal, Rio, Fiocchi. They're out there. We got high ceilings. We stack them high.
Got that right. We have done some stacking the last couple of days, but
you missed that, Kyle. I put Cole on shot shell stacking duty a couple of days ago. Got some work out of it.
That's better than going upstairs and looking for a box that does not exist and looking for a UPC that I think doesn't exist, and then somebody else goes right behind me and they find it. That's happened to me a couple of times. It's kind of frustrating.
Sometimes we make stuff up to send Cole after.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. But
be like, yeah, Cole, the box itself's camouflage. No, it's not brown. It's camouflage.
But it's all good. If it means a sale, I'm good with going to get it. So it's all good.
Talking about shotgun shells and dove hunting, what you gonna shoot?
Personally, man, growing up, I tell you what, and I've shot everything from every brand there is to low brass, high brass, whatever. But I truly get frustrated with certain low brasses sometimes, and not all of them. Yeah. But I shoot a Browning. I shoot a Browning gun, and I like to shoot the Browning shell they got. But there's a lot of other good shells out there too. I like to shoot a 1.25 ounce, and believe it or not, I don't mind shooting 6s at them. I like the 7.5s is fine, but I really like shooting 6s or 7.5s at them just because, I mean, not every day we're at a field where you got your mojo 20, 25 yards in front of you and they're landing on it, even though I'm a believer in a dove mojo. I really am. But it doesn't just happen like that all the time. That's right. But that's kind of my preference right there.
We get in those fields where there's, we don't we hadn't been privileged enough to have our own fields. It's always, you know, there'd be 20 of us surrounding the field, and when them doves get in there, they trying to get out of there. They not
That's right.
decoying no more.
That's right.
And so you got to be able to reach out there and touch them sometimes. But
I like it. You know, I shoot a 10 gauge at ducks, and so with doves, I want the most shot and the most powder. If it's brand, don't too much matter for me, as long as it's max dram, ounce and a quarter, pretty much the heaviest you can go.
100%. 100%.
the Browning ammo, they didn't make shells, you know, back in when we were growing up. But I can just still remember those green high brass Remingtons.
Heck yeah.
My granddad, he'd hand them out, and he'd hand us some low brass too, and we'd be fighting for those high brass shells
Yep.
when we killed them.
It's
Cause
the express long range.
that's right, we're shooting,
Those are
hunting over a cutover with some doveweed or woolly croton's what it's called. But a lot of times we were actually quail hunting doves because they'd already be out in there, and you just had to walk through it and jump up and shoot them. And so if you killed 4 or 5 doves, that was going to be a good day. So we weren't just trying to shoot junk.
Didn't want to mess around with the cheap shells.
That's right. But
And
now
those
those new, like he's talking about, them ounce and a quarter from Browning ammo, number 6s, they're bad to the bone.
And for some of y'all that may not know exactly what that is, Caleb may tell you a little bit about some more. I mean, from Federal to Winchester, like he said, the Fiocchi and the Rios are kind of not as known, but I'm telling you, man, every brand is good. And even the ounce and a quarter, I mean, the ounce and an eighth is still good, but especially for younger kids. And
Some of those, I mean, it's with a younger kid, I mean, you take a max dram ounce and a quarter number 9. It's not like throwing a cast net out there. You just kind of point at them, and you got a dead bird.
right. And especially, man, if you got little ones out there, that's a great shot. And I'll tell you what Simmons does have is they have a lot of 20 gauge shells as well, and it's 16 gauge, 20 gauge, all of that.
You know, when you're talking about shells, I hear it all the time. People say, well, what's some cheap shells? I'm like, what are you doing with it? Well, I'm hunting. Why do you want cheap shells? And I'm not saying that you can't kill ducks with a cheap steel shot, or that you can't kill doves with a cheap low brass, but let's just take duck hunting for instance. You spent 10 to 12,000 on a blind, or maybe you shared it into a lease for 2,500, 3,000, something like that. Then you spent 15 to 20 grand on a side by side. You got a $2,000 to $3,000 trailer you're pulling it with. You got a $1,500 to $2,000 shotgun. You got a $6,000 to $10,000 dog. You got a $200 to $400 pair of waders. You got all this gear, and then, in the words of Jeff Simmons, the direct line between you and that duck are those shotgun shells. So why not spend a little extra money? And like I said, I'm not saying you can't kill them with a cheaper shotgun shell, but if you don't think it makes a difference, try it. I promise you, it makes a huge difference.
100%. And not necessarily the brand, but just make sure your numbers align with what you really, really want.
That's right.
Use. And if you choose to go the lighter loads, that's fine too. It is fine too. But this is just personal preference. And
I see people all the time. They're like, oh, I need some 20 gauge shells. I'm like, well, you want some bismuth, you want some heavy metal, some blindside. They're like, oh, it's just for my kid. Like, well, that's even more reason to me. Why do you want to put that kid at a disadvantage of, he's already trying to learn and have a tough time. Let's boost his morale and give him something that's, kills a little harder.
No, you're exactly right.
Very true.
Exactly right. I just think we'll come out of the break. I don't know where I was going.
So that's why, chicken costs $1.80 a pound or something, and duck costs $180 a pound.
I think it's $180 an ounce. I think you got that wrong. It's $180 an ounce.
Maybe, right.
Heck yeah. So we're going to take a quick break, guys. When we come back, we're going to go into a little food plot management.
Come by Simmons Sporting Goods and check out the new A5 semi-auto shotguns from Browning, the best there is. Now back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. We talk a little bit about dove hunting coming up and how we're getting fired up for it. But another thing that we love to do, and it may sound crazy to some people, is we love to work on the leases, doing deer work and tractor work, and maybe it's kind of it's a little bit of a vacation away from work when we're sitting on a tractor and disking, and plus we're growing something, putting it in the ground. So we're going to talk a little bit about the strategy behind what we do for planting food plots for deer. And guy sitting across from me at the table, Cole, he does a whole lot of that, and he gets into it. So I'm going to let him kick it off about, what he does and what Caleb does in northeast Louisiana, and then I'll go into northwest Louisiana, and we'll go across the country kind of from there.
I think, to be honest, I think timing is everything. With rain, I do think some people plant too early.
Yeah.
I think you can fight a lot of things, but you can fight weeds, you can fight the heat, you can fight stresses your seed, and when
Insects.
you can fight armyworms, you can fight cutworms, you can fight all kind of things. And the biggest thing to me is, man, sometimes you got to rush it, but I really, really do study the weather before I get especially my big plots in, and try to time it before a rain, because, and it's happened to me, it's happened to a bunch of people, man, nothing's more frustrating than you put that seed in the ground and you've done all your work, and we'll get into that, and man, you get 1/10 or 2/10, and then it gets hot again, and then you ain't got rain for 10, 14 more days. Mm-hmm. Well, you let that seed pop up out of that ground and let it come up with 1/10 or 2/10 or even a little bit more sometimes, and let it have nothing to follow it back up with, you're in trouble. There's a good chance you're going to have to replant.
It's going to curl up, turn yellow.
You're going to think it may look, well, I got enough to get it. No, you're going to need a little bit more than that. And that's a struggle. And I just say, watch the weather. If you see something, the best thing is to watch multiple days, not just one. You don't really want that 3 to 4 inch rain. But if you can watch multiple days backing up over a 5 to 10 day period is crucial in that. I mean, I know Caleb knows a whole lot about farming when it comes to this too, and I love it. It's a passion of mine too, but I think he would agree. And that goes with farming as well.
I don't know how many times, we've disked our food plots at our farm and got everything ready, and you got the seed there, and you want to while you're there, and everybody's there to help, and you got the seed, and the seeder's already on the buggy, whatever. Hair's sitting there ready to drag and cover it up, and you want to do it, but you look at the forecast, you're like, man, there's no rain in sight. There's no point. We're wasting money. We're wasting time. We're burning gas or diesel for no reason. And it seems like every year I'll look at the weather and, like, all of a sudden you got this 7 days of nothing in the forecast, and then all of a sudden you got these 60 and 80% chances pop up the next 3 days. So I'm on the phone with my brother. I'm like, hey, let's get the seed, get it ready. As soon as I get off, I'll meet you at the farm. And we've been out there planting food plots in the headlights till midnight before, and we've done it like 2 years ago. We did that. All of a sudden, it was dry. Rain pops up for the next. I think this was on like a Wednesday. It was 60% Thursday, 80% Friday. We stayed out there till midnight. Planting those food plots, whatever. Wake up the next morning, bluebird sunshine, look at it, and it's gone to 10 and 20%.
Oh, it's so bad this time
you
of
get
year.
Nothing.
Oh, I know. I've been there too. It's bad this time of year.
I have cussed the weatherman I don't know how many times when it comes time for food plot planting.
God, it's frustrating. But what you can do, and what I found beneficial is right now, man, like, don't wait. Whether you like – I'm a fan of spraying my food plot right now, especially if they're grassy. I'm a fan of spraying them and killing those heads right now, all that grass seed. And then if you got a strong enough disc to come in after it's dead, come in and disc it. If not, knock it down with a bush hog if you can. If you can, and let it sit there on the ground, let it rot a little bit, give it time, and then you come in and hammer it with a disc. Go ahead and get those food plots clean.
We got all ours sprayed about a week ago, and like you said, that makes a huge difference when you disc it up and you sow those seeds to have everything, all your summer grasses dead, and any winter grasses that are starting to grow dead, and have a good clean bed to work with.
And you can spray with a four-wheeler.
That's what we do.
Exactly.
I mean, I got a 1,500 acre farm. We probably plant, I'm going to say we plant 25 acres worth of food plots, spray every bit of it with a side-by-side and 8-foot boom, just because you can get in all your tight areas.
Oh, yeah.
Spray all your lanes.
So it's not necessarily a rich man's deal. It's something to help.
No.
And then Roundup, it's not cheap, but it's not overly expensive either in what you need to get. But, man, it just really helps you with the grass, and it really helps when you go to plant. to break that ground up and to cut it up, but to have live grass and green grass in it, it's a negative. It chokes it out, and you're still in your moisture. There's a lot of negatives along with it. But if you knock it back and you cut it back with spraying it first, it just makes your life so much smoother.
And too, if you've got some kind of wild grass or weed, if you wait, usually if you wait till September or late September to disc your food plots, well, let's say it's Johnson grass. Well, it's headed out. Well, when you disc it, you're just reseeding it.
100%. Yeah, it's exact. And I'm a believer in. Man, there's a September 15th date, but I never. And I'm in northeast Louisiana, outside of Waverly, Delhi, and I never do anything before I try to. I'm planting food plots sometimes on October 1st. I mean, I try not to mess up when bow hunting and deer hunting and this and that, but I mean. They say September 15th on until you get, close to mid-November, but try not to ever wait that long. But I like to be the end of September, right in that area there has kind of been the magical.
It seems like the past couple of years towards the end of September, even on into early October, you're still having some mid-90-degree days.
Oh, man, we sitting.
Your wheat, your clover, your oats, your winter peas, stuff like that. It's not a good early life cycle for it to go in that heat and that dry weather.
Exactly, and if you don't have a good rain to come in with you, and like I said, that's my biggest fear over birds, over not covering your seed, over anything. It's just a little rain and then dries, and then you get no rain for a while.
Let's hit on that covering. How do you cover your seeds when you plant it?
Man, I think it depends on if I'm in a hurry or not. Sometimes I'll lightly disc. I don't like to do that. I like to drag it or hair it like you said. I like to do it with a four-wheeler, to be honest with you, because I can cover more ground fast. And with a tractor, sometimes I have one I just pull behind the tractor, and you need two people, and I don't always have multiple people. And you got to load it up, this and that.
Yep.
So at times I will lightly disc it, even though I don't like doing that, especially with small seed, your clovers and all that. Wheat and oats, I think you can get away with it, but your other stuff, I think you're doing better off not disking it, or not dragging it if you can.
Your cereal grain seeds, your wheat, and your oats, and rye grow anywhere if you disc it or not, but you can put it a little deeper, like 1.5 inches, and it's fine. And so. Me, if I'm doing it on my farm as a one-man show, I usually plant the cereal grain stuff, disc it, then I'll come in behind when I'm done with the clover and not even disc it.
And or if it's top of the ground.
Or if it's not going to rain right then, I'll wait, and if I'm still available right before it does rain, then you still want a little bit of powdered soil. If you let your soil sit too long, after you disc it, it's going to settle in and get hard. But if you still have a powdered seed bed, then you come in, put your clover on it, just let the rain, put it in the ground just barely. That's all you need. And how we do it, and have had good success with it. But if we got a team going, we only have one tractor, so the disc will be on the tractor, and then we'll have some four-wheelers with a makeshift piece of fence with a log rolled up on it.
I got we call it a harrow, but it's a piece of chain link fence with some angle iron and some I think we got some old tractor weights on the back to weight it down a little bit, and it covers really good. That goes back to what Cole was saying about you don't have to have you don't have to go buy a 3-point hitch harrow to cover this seed.
And honestly, all you need is you just need seed to soil contact.
That's it.
Now you worry about some birds and stuff maybe eating it, before it heads out if you don't really put it in the ground. But we've planted food plots our whole lives, and I'm sure we've skimped on it, and we've never had a bad situation unless it went too long without rain, or like Cole said, got a hard rain in the beginning and then too long with no rain. And so seeds nowadays, especially if you're getting one that's engineered for a food plot, the science is done. It's there for a reason. And kind of get in a little bit about what kind of seed do you plant, and what brand, or if you like to go mix them up at the co-op like my granddad did, or how do y'all do it?
I like to mix my own some, and we sell. One of my favorites though that's had the best luck with is Buckbusters. We sell it here at the store, and I've had some of the best food plots come out of Buckbuster seed, and it's got all your, it's got in, I don't know exactly what all it's got in it, but It's got wheats, oats. There's a little bit of New Zealand rape. There's clover. There's chicory. There's winter peas. It's got a little of everything. And some people argue, well, keep your grasses and your broadleaf separate, and I've tried that, and it's kind of it works. But I mean, my best food plots have come from Buckbusters, and it's as easy as dumping it in the cedar and spreading it and dragging the.
I do know there's a brown bag and a white bag. The white bag is a little higher end price point, and their premium line. And I think it's got some added clover, a little extra clover, and maybe a Ladino, a white clover versus a red clover, crimson clover in it. But I know that's what Cole likes too.
Well, I didn't even talk to Caleb about. I just said, man, we're gonna cover some food plot stuff too. But I mean, he hit the nail on the head. And they're just a small company out of Mississippi or Central Louisiana, Vidalia.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've seen them at different buying group shows, and all these little co-ops that I used to work in and go in, man, they used to carry it all across the South, and they were always sold out of it. And I know Jeff and Caleb and them
sell out of it every year.
And you buy another pallet, and people ask for it. It is quality stuff. There's a lot of. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of
good food plot plants.
And Caleb and them carry a lot more food plot stuff. It's really some good stuff. But I love a bag that plants an acre. I love a bag that plants an acre, and their bags plant an acre. It's a 50-pound sack, right? Mm-hmm. I believe it's and it plants a full acre.
Unless you do like I do and want to make double sure that we're getting a good seed rate out there.
Oh yeah,
and I might get like a third of an acre out of that bag or half acre. Or something
I always
like
plant. I'm like, man, that's an acre, and I just put no. Hey, I always have a super sack of wheat too. I always add wheat into mine. I always do. I'm a wheat guy instead of oats guy, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I always get scared. I'm always scared, man. I don't feel like that's thick enough.
Yeah. If you walk by it and you ain't feeling like it's
walking on
little grains under your feet, it ain't.
I get nervous, right. But all that's good stuff, and oats is good stuff. My only deal is with oats. I like them if I'm planting. I'm just not a fan of doing strictly oats, and the deer like them. Don't get me wrong, they like them, but after it frosts, they'll lay down on you.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable to me. Like wheat can take the grazing pressure.
Sure.
I mean, look what these ranchers and farmers plant wheat and rye and other stuff. And I'm not a big rye fan for deer, cattle and other stuff. Yeah, but not. But they plant this wheat, especially out in Oklahoma where we hunt a lot too. And man, it just can take so much grazing.
There's a lot of, and especially out that way. But even around here, there's a few farmers that have cattle. A row crop farmers and cattle too, and will plant wheat, let the cattle graze on it until whatever date, pull them off, put another shot of nitrogen on it, and then harvest it and make really good.
When it's basically dormant.
Yeah. And still makes really good yield.
It's the exact thing that we do out in Oklahoma, and the same exact. But you got to pull them off because once it starts getting out of dormant, once it starts to grow, you got to get them off, and or they'll basically graze it out. And
come by Simmons Sporting Goods and check out the new models of the X-Bolt rifle from Browning, the best there is. Now back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. And we're not scientists, so y'all take all this with a grain of salt, but we have graduated from the School of Hard Knocks when it comes to doing this, of trial and error and what we've seen and stuff. And sometimes that can go a long way. But like Cole said, I'm not a fan of rye either for deer. If you had a spot that you just absolutely cannot get a disc to and it doesn't get a whole lot of sun and you just, die hard on, I've got to get me some food here, you can put rye and just let it touch the soil and it will come up. I've got a couple places in my farm in Louisiana I did it, but just never had real success with deer. You just pounding it like they do something with a mixture of wheat and oats and winter peas and that kind of stuff.
I will say with rye, and I heard a guy tell me this a while ago. He's like, man, I plant it in lanes that I can shoot a long ways because he said,
you can see.
There you go.
It brightens it up. I mean, it's like turning the lights on.
I don't hunt a ton of lanes, but it makes perfect sense. I got some that I hunt, and it, dude, when they walk out in a food plot late, compared to walking through CRP, WRP, or just walking out in a cornfield or anything, you can see those bodies and you can see those racks in the green out there.
Yep.
In the grass. And
another thing we use it for, and I don't really we don't plant ryegrass on my farm for a main food plot, but we do it there where we got some longer lanes. We also do it on a lot of our main roads just to kind of hold that road together.
It worked well. I
You
see
know,
them do it, other people doing it, but
just to hold the road together, because you know it gets winter and we're duck hunting and deer hunting and we're riding those side by sides and whatever back and forth through there, and having that little grass there will kind of help hold your road together and keep it from just rutting to hell and back to where you can't get to where you need to go.
I'm fixing to bring about 10 bags of rye to Cole's camp for his road that goes back in the middle, the travel
we
road.
just got it redid. We just got it.
Oh,
I'm
that's
telling
it.
you, they brought more dirt in and dug more dirt, then you built it up over. It's like 1.5 feet higher than what it's planed out. It's beautiful. We just got it redid, and it's been a chunk, but it's going to be worth it. But
'Cause it starts off, you could ride a golf cart down it. Then about a week later, you can ride a side-by-side down it. And then about a week later, it takes a pretty legit four-wheeler to get down it. And then
Right.
about a week later, you just got to go through the woods. Don't try it or you're going to get stuck.
dude, the best thing I think, what I almost feel like, if we all didn't have a side-by-side or a Ranger or whatever, if you could just take a Honda 350 Rancher and that's all you drove on them all year,
Yeah.
life would be
That's it.
so much
Yep.
better. It would be so much better than. But man, everybody's always got.
You got to have the
But you
bigger
gotta
and the
have
better.
it. I mean, it makes so much sense when you take your family and kids and your friends hunting, duck hunting, kind of like you. Some of our same roads we used to go
Heck
duck
yeah.
hunting on, and deer hunting on at the same time. And you want to haul a deer out and you got your family with you, your friends with you, man. You want to fit everybody in the same bike. But one thing we did, I will say, and I'll let y'all back up on this, man. In food plots, I've done it many times where I've chinched on it, whether it be because I didn't have the money at the time or whatever. But I say if you can help it, never chinch on your fertilizer.
Nope.
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as just 13, 13, 13 or something. But, man, I'm telling you, the deer will crush your food plots, and it makes a difference. If you think, man, I'm not even going to mess with fertilizer, I've done it. I will never do it again. If I have to take a loan out in the bank, I will buy fertilizer, and it is the best. The deer will eat your food plot. You can mark it down. They will eat your food plot better, no doubt.
Well, I mean, in triple 13, you know, a 50-pound sack's $15 maybe. I mean, I don't know exactly what it costs, but
I'm not
let's
sure.
say it's
It ends up being about
$14.99,
that.
something like
yeah,
that.
somewhere around the neighborhood of $15. And most of these food plots are a quarter of an acre or so. So I mean, that's giving you 26 units of nitrogen, potash, and phosphorus for that quarter acre food plot, and that's plenty to get it up and
For
rolling.
food plot stuff.
What's your rate? 300 pounds an acre is what you want
That's
to do?
like really.
Well,
That's
But we always
So,
end up with 200.
and I'll go back to,
152.
I mean, I can get a little too deep into this, but you got a unit of nitrogen or a unit of potash or a unit of phosphorus is a pound per acre. So when something's the triple 13 means per 100 pounds, there's 13
units.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you got 50, you got a 50-pound sack. It's 13% is what it is. So if you got a 50-pound sack of triple 13, 100 pounds is going to give you 26 units of each. So he just in LSU Ag and all these there's guidelines to how many units of nitrogen at what stage and whatever. As far as your P and K goes, that goes along with your pH. Wouldn't hurt to get your pull a soil sample. You pull a 4 to 6 inch sample, pull 4 to 5 of them, 4 to 6 inches deep through your plot. And there's a place in Maroons called Delta Agronomic Services, and I think $15 they can run that and give you a $15-20, something like that. They'll give you an analysis of what your pH is, what your phosphorus is, what your potash is, and a recommendation on what to put,
need to add or whatever.
what to add. Because, potash is kind of in the soil, and that's something that when you're putting that K out on top of something that's already growing, well, it's not really getting anything. But, I mean, it's good to put it there and have it in the soil for next year. Your phosphorus, you get a little bit of that at the beginning, but it's not taking up a lot of that later, and it's, in your food plot's life either. So your nitrogen is the main thing that's growing it. Right. So we just fertilized some millet this week, and I just put ammonium nitrate on it because I didn't need the P. The P and K at the point in the stage that millet is kind of irrelevant.
I just know if you got pine trees like I do, you need everything. Pine trees
You
for
probably
all
need
that
a lot of
soil.
lime.
Yep,
You
a lot
probably
of
need a
lime.
lot of lime.
And a lot of guys, I mean,
And you don't have to. And people want to know if your pH isn't right, your plant's not going to absorb that nutrient like it should. I mean, there's several. We sell pH meters. You can buy pH meters, at most local sporting goods stores, hardware stores, whatever. And at least if you don't pull a soil sample, at least check your pH and see. You can buy the pelletized lime. At least try to get that pH to from 6 to 6.5.
How early do you need to lime it for it to take effect?
So, with pelletized is a little different than like the big truckloads of
Powdered
lime.
lime? Yeah.
Like powdered lime that you see them dumping truckloads of it in the field. You want to do that in the fall for next spring's crop. So with pelletized lime, it works a lot faster, and I don't know exactly how much faster, but it is important to incorporate it in the soil. So you want to, if you check your pH, and then most of the bags of pelletized lime will show you on the back how much to put out per acre to raise your pH by 1 point or half point or whatever. But it's best to put it out before you break ground. Yeah. So you put it out after you spray, before you disc. Whatever, it's best to incorporate it in the soil.
Down in the soil.
That's right, incorporate in the soil, and once it gets incorporated in and gets rained on and all, it'll start working, pretty quick. But that being said, you don't have if you got the time, the more you put into these food plots, the more work really, and more than it is money. The more work you put in these food plots, the better it'll turn out with a little bit of luck from the weather cooperating too. But
you can't do nothing without rain.
That's right.
For sure. One thing Cole touched on briefly that I'll make sure we get the point across is that if for some reason you couldn't spray, and you got to do the bush hog and disc method. If you have a spring plow, you bush hog, spring plow, then disc. But very, very key, and I've made the mistake many times since I've been in a rush. If you bush hog and then you go unhook the bush hog and hook the disc up and try to disc, you are fixing to spend a lot more time trying to disc that field than if you were to bush hog, wait 3 or 4 days and let that grass die and blow out of the way and all that, dry out, then come back and disc.
The longer you wait, that grass will rot, and then
That's
your
right.
disc will cut it up a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But I don't know about y'all, but especially if food plot implements sometimes aren't super heavy.
That adds to your organic matter too, which helps your nutrient intake.
And sometimes it's tough. You need clean ground to cut up. Not everybody's working on huge disc or huge plows cutting up food plots like farmers do and all that. So, the cleaner you can get it before you start cutting up that ground, the better, no matter what. But,
whatever it is, whatever the food plots you guys, whatever you like, whatever you get it in there. And I'm a huge advocate of it. I think the more food plots you can plant, the better your deer are going to grow, the more deer you're going to see. I've gone from quit feeding corn and rice bran in several places just due to the hogs and bears and strictly food plots, and you see more deer and end up seeing better deer.
That's right, and it's different where you live to what you plant. Down south, we would love to grow these big turnip and rape fields, and we will plant them stuff, but the deer, they say they need a frost for the sugar to release into the leaves and things like that. From my School of Hard Knocks, studying, I haven't seen that to be the case, and a lot of times we'll have those plants, even if that was the case down here, generally it's after the season when deer are really eating that kind of stuff. So we have more success just with your cereal grains, your wheat, your oats, and winter peas. Winter peas for me, and with my binoculars looking at a deer eating in my food plot, when I know what the difference between the winter peas and all that is, they love it. Yeah. They love the Austrian winter peas, and you see them eating it.
What I've noticed with the winter pea is our deer does not let them get up high enough
right.
to make a pea. Now, unless you're hunting a huge field, like we've got some fields in Oklahoma that are borderline 100 acres, 50 acres, 20 acres, and they get up and produce pods, seeds, everything. But man, here, winter peas to us, the deer smoke them before they even.
Talking about the rape, I had a planted one food plot with nothing but New Zealand rape one year, and it turned out perfect, which I'm sure was an accident. But this was one of my best spots, and I got a feeder going. I got rice bran piled up, and the rice bran's just molding. Corn's piling up on top of it. I'm getting 5 or 10 pictures a week. What is going on? Well, finally, I went and hunted. It was that first week. I was like, I just got to go sit in that stand and see what the heck's going on. I saw 37 deer that evening. They were all eating on that rape. None of them went to the corn or the rice bran. So, I mean, and that was mid-November before we really had much frost. But I've planted it every year ever since then. Hadn't had a rape crop like that since.
And if we do it right and you fertilize right, man, those things are very palatable, the food plots. And those deer, I'm telling you, they love the carbs. Don't get me wrong with the corn and rice bran. I'm a fan of that too. But, man, those food plots are sustainable. When you run out of corn and rice bran and you don't do a food plot, your deer are going to walk off your property, or they're going to go to the next pile, and it's going to be hard. But when you have a food plot, man, you can hold more deer, and you can hold those. They still may wander off and this and that, but they will kind of make that their home body, their home area. And I just think you can hold deer, and you hold those does in those food plots. And when your rut's there and you're hunting, man, those bucks will come through there at some point.
Absolutely.
And another thing is, you could get technical. And I know guys that don't shoot does off their food plots. They shoot them on lanes and roads, and those are all good points. And you could whack 20 does off the food plot. It doesn't matter to me, but that's another good point. I've had guys tell me, say, man, we don't shoot does off our food plots. We will corn the roads leading to the food plots, or this or that. They're 100, 200, 300 yards away, 400 yards away, and that's where we shoot our does. And I said, man, that's a great idea not to do that. I said, not everybody can do that, but that is a great idea, and it just gives them deer a lot more. I mean, you're not blowing them away every afternoon.
I'm a fan of just shooting does in general in the morning time, not in the evenings. That way you're not in there after dark when the deer's at its peak movement, that kind of stuff. Right. You're hopefully in there when the deer are all laying up, But as far as I don't know, and then maybe it's I've been shooting myself in the foot, but I haven't seen the people talk about blooding up a spot or something. I haven't seen that if you kill a deer and put blood on the ground, it messes up a spot. I've never seen that, but I hear people talk about it a lot. But human interaction and negative, deer being a negative reaction to humans being around is a big factor.
And if you shoot a doe in the evening, you're skinning a deer while I'm sitting there drinking your whiskey watching that football game we were talking about.
No doubt.
And they're frying fish or cooking a steak. But no, shoot your deer whenever. Those are just thoughts, man. Those are just different ideas that a lot of people say. And a lot of times you're flirting with a big buck coming in right at dark anyways. Mm-hmm. And then if you're whacking does right at dark, man, he's going to wait a couple hours, or he's not going to come, or whatever. So I am a fan of baiting the roads before and shooting the roads and still hunting your food plots. Don't get me wrong, but man, I have seen that work. And if you can help it, but like he said, I would rather shoot if you're shooting does that day, I would love to shoot them in the morning or shoot them early in the evening and get out of there. I'm a fan of doing that too. Yeah. Shoot them as early as you can, and you got a big deer coming in there, but you trying to shoot some does too. Man, I'd say shoot your does somewhere else or whatever. If your trail camera's showing him, even if he's coming in at 10 o'clock at night and it's getting dark at 5:30. Man, I still wouldn't go to shooting does out of that food plot because he's gonna mess up. He's gonna come in there at some point during daylight hours.
Yeah, food plots age like fine whiskey or wine or whatever you want to use as an analogy, because don't get discouraged if at the beginning of the season you're not seeing big bucks and stuff in your food plot. As the weather gets harsher and they run out of that natural forage, they start moving toward those food plots. So you almost when that grass is first coming up and it's fresh and tender, early part of bow season, sometimes you will see some bucks using it, and then they a lot of times they leave it until they just because of hunting pressure usually, until they just absolutely have to have it because there's nothing else to eat. And usually the seasons don't quite go long enough to really have, you'll see more deer in your food plots in February, of course, than you would during hunting season. But those last couple weeks of the season, afternoon hunting the food plot is usually lights out, whereas during the rut and stuff, you may be hunting more in the mornings and you may be getting away from food plots in the morning time. But don't give up on them if you got them planted. Hunt them toward the end of the year.
It doesn't hurt to throw a little fertilizer on there halfway through the year too, and I know that's hard to do, to spend money on that later on in the year, but it does help if you got
You know, especially with a clover or something that the deer really use early spring for protein. That's a great point. You know, after season, if you still got a good food plot, put a little shot of nitrogen on it. You know, and give those deer. Just because we're not hunting those deer anymore, don't mean they don't need something to eat.
Exactly, and I like running your trail cameras late too. Put a trail camera on your food plot, corn, rice bran, pile it up, and see what deer make it too.
We'll do a separate podcast on deer management and all growing horns and all that kind of stuff. But just a real quick touch on what Caleb just said is that a deer's body condition in February makes a huge difference in his rack the next year.
Absolutely.
And so if you can keep him going, it's almost more important to keep him in really good shape then than it is in July and June when he's got plenty of natural forage and stuff.
You know, and I've had luck with my oats going this far. I'm kind of like Cole with frost that lays down, but I know people that'll plant oats, you know, and then fertilize them heavy after deer season, and they head out and they get in that doe stage right at turkey season. They say turkeys just absolutely love them. So you're doing, you know, your deer and turkey food plot all in one.
Yes,
that's a good point. That is a good point.
I tried that. I didn't have as much luck. Mine either goes underwater or somebody runs over with a bush hog.
Hey, you think the same thing we do,
or something
too.
Like that. But I tried that.
You're exactly right. But no, I don't know. It's just an exciting time of the year coming toward the end right here, and the end of the summer, coming toward the end of the summer, and things looking up with Labor Day coming up, and you know that just always spells hunting season, spells no tax weekend to get in here and buy all your hunting needs. And there'll be other sales, but man, a lot of times you got to wait till Thanksgiving or wait till Black Friday or that week. So man,
it's hard to beat not paying sales tax. I mean, gosh dang, we pay enough taxes.
Oh, big time, man, big time.
Skip out on paying sales tax on our hunting stuff. And yeah, talking about hunting season coming up, another thing, we'll take a quick break, and this last segment we'll hit on the Blue Rockets. Teal season's right around the corner.
Got it. Thank y'all for listening to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting podcast. Bandit has a $50 off the #1 wader in waterfowl. Take Bandit's money and put it in your pocket today. Since you're giving us an hour of your time, we're going to give you something special.
As all our listeners for the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting podcast get geared up for hunting season, we got a special offer from Bandit. From now through October 31st, you can save $50 per purchase of the Bandit Red Zone Elite 2.0 breathable waders. That's any Bandit Elite 2.0 wader, model, color, insulated, uninsulated. Save $50 per Elite 2.0 wader. Save $50 per Elite 2.0 wader now through October 31st.
Hey, don't miss this unique, first-of-its-kind offer on the best wader in the game. This is the wader that we hunted in last year, legit wader. Y'all better hurry to shop before 10/31/2020 or while supplies last. Don't wait till the end of October. Go ahead and get it now. Offers void where tax, restricted, or prohibited by law. Valid only in the USA as applicable.
Welcome back to Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting, Episode 5 of the podcast. And we'll kind of wrap up on this Episode 5. We touched on a few things from food plots to dove hunting to different sales and different things going on. But something that comes up right after dove season is teal season. And the big thing with teal, to me, shooting teal is a blast. But water, you got to have water. And it's tricky sometimes, and a lot of times if you got water, but these guys who can flood up a little spot here and there, that's all great. And a lot of times you'll have birds, or if you got a reservoir or two that holds water year round or whatever, you're gonna have birds most likely where we're at right here. But I don't know, I love shooting teal and blue wing teal, and I don't know if it is because it's early in the year and they decoy so good, they come in mojo's good, they come in the calling good. You don't have to hide quite as good, but it's just all around a lot of fun. And my thing with teal is scouting. You got to get out there and find them, and they only gonna come to the water. We don't have just a ton of water this time of year.
And then if you find them, you better be on them quick because they may be up and gone.
You know, and talking about them decoying and not having to hide as much, that's on day one.
Yeah.
On the first day, that's the case. And then, you know, I guess the first time we ever really got on some teals, they just like they were just way sky high, and like, holy smokes, there's more ducks. Just bombed the decoys. We smacked them, and the next day we go out there and it was a totally different ball game.
Kind of like those second days.
Oh man, they get smart real quick.
Yeah. They leave too. They they're the best at migrating in
here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, a long distance in a short amount of time, and they know where they want to be, and they ain't really hanging out.
They'll show up overnight too. Sometimes you may scout the morning of and not be no birds, but teal are notorious for showing up overnight. To me, theirs are notorious as any duck there is showing up overnight, whether it's green wings, blue wings early on, green wings during deer season, and that's the excitement about them, man. Is you never know sometimes, and we don't have that long to hunt them, so you just go.
Another thing to watch for during teal season are low-flying wood ducks.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't accidentally shoot one.
May or may not have been guilty of that.
Tennessee actually has a wood duck season during the early seasons, probably for that reason.
That
a good wildlife commission out there.
That Louisiana needs to take note.
Some of them going to die anyway accidentally. Might as well make it legal.
I don't know how many times I've thrown my shotgun up and almost squeezed the trigger and stopped when I realized what happens. Or
I'll confess, I was a senior in high school and I did get a ticket for doing that. Shooting the wood. I may or may not have did it on purpose though.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. I like how anytime it was something cold did bad is a long time ago.
I can't remember what year it was.
If you scouting for teal and don't know what to look for, a lot of times shallow water with grass in the water, just like a pond and stuff. We'll have some teal, but it's not as good as if you got grassy water. Something about I don't know if it's the invertebrates that they like or what in that, but.
And a lot of times, wherever you got snakes, there's teal.
I was fixing to say one of Kyle's favorite things is usually making their last crawl during teal season.
He is deathly afraid of snakes, and it kills. He's not afraid of much, but he is deathly afraid of snakes.
Yeah, I can't. Like it's physically impossible if I'm in snake country to walk to the stand or anywhere when it's dark without a flashlight. Like it just irks me. One time my tractor broke down about 2 miles from my camp, and I was disking food plots in September at night, and I had to walk down a power line that was about thigh high in grass for 400 yards, and I thought I was going to die. Because I didn't have a light. Phone was dead, and I was like, "This is it. This is the end. Snake gonna bite me. It's all over with."
Not gonna make it back. He is definitely afraid of snakes. Definitely afraid.
I get it from my dad. I think that stuff is a learned deal because my dad's the same way, but it may not be. It may be genetic. Who knows? But yeah, I don't like them. If I see them, we're all good. I'm fine with them. No problem. But it's the ones that I don't see, or that I think I'm going to step on, or whatever that I'm worried about.
I think you talk about teal though. I mean, we've talked about this before, and dove season gets you cranked up, but teal season really gets you cranked up. And by far, I think a teal, we would all agree, is our favorite duck to eat as well.
Heck
and you
yeah,
go from doves to teal. We love cooking doves too. Love it, man. I hadn't met many people that didn't, especially when you do a little bit of marinade and whatever you put on. Everybody's got their own deal with bacon, whatever. But the same thing with teal. You go from doves to teal. That's a pretty good way to start hunting season right there.
You're dang right.
With eating both of those.
Little teal science that I learned a couple of weeks ago from Ramsey Russell is that I didn't know this. The male teal, the drakes, migrate first, and he says, and it's a significant enough difference that now it's hard. Early season, it's hard to tell the drake from the hen.
Right.
But if you kill drake teal, you have caught the early part of the migration, and then if you're killing hens and young birds, you got the tail end of the migration.
But it really is hard to tell, especially flying, scouting and flying and this and that.
Very hard to tell early.
It's like when guys mount teal early on. My brother-in-law did that last year, and he lucked up and killed one that had all its colors. But most of the time, man, you look at them in a picture, they all look pretty identical.
Yeah, that's right. They all look
it's
like
you hunt them, and we've gone. Kyle and I've been in Canada before, and shooting mallards up there, and it's still pretty, but it's not the same as shooting them down here at Christmas time. And,
especially the younger birds, they don't have green heads.
It's hard to tell the difference in those too. But
seeing those blue wings though in the sunshine, there ain't nothing better than that. When they circle around decoys and make that last pass and throw them wings out, and you just see it looks like bicycle reflectors on their wings, just blue shining.
This is beautiful. I got two mounted, and I think we're all guilty of maybe group shotting at a teal or two, especially
may
a
have done
below
it.
league.
I'm like you. I did it a long time ago though.
But I found out, and we talked about this with Maddie a little bit, with teal hunting like that. Sometimes I like to be the first one to shoot it. Sometimes I'm quick a little bit. But if you wait and let somebody else shoot, and when they pop up,
You go straight up.
you usually can go 2 for 3, if not 3 for 3
Yeah.
at times, and it's not a terrible shot.
You got
And a
them
lot
on
of times, man, on that first shot on those teal, if they're not wadded up, your odds aren't super great unless you're hunting with some really good shots.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm going to wait, but if you do, you got a good chance of killing several.
Yeah.
Because I'm usually 2 shots in, and then bam, I'm aiming on my 3rd shot. I'm a fast shooter.
Especially that first group is the first group of the season. A little excitement going on there.
Oh, you ain't kidding. Especially when you call at them, and a lot of times those teal, even on public land, a lot of times they work really good, and man, it's just fun to see ducks that work, and they come to the mojos and they do right, and I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. But I guess we'll
When is teal season? Is teal season a week after no tax?
week after no tax.
So that'd be the
12th is a Saturday.
That's right. So the 12th,
12th.
13th, it'll open up, and we got 6. Used to, 4 teal was the limit during teal season. Now you can kill 6 teal.
Mm-hmm.
You can get your full. You can kill 6 teal, 2 cottonmouth moccasins, and whatever other snakes you come across.
Yeah, I can remember when it was 4 that one year. We were at public land right outside of Monroe, and oh my God, I mean, we could have shot them in 10 minutes, and then past couple of years we ain't been able to buy a teal.
Is that when y'all
hit or miss.
spent the night at the boat ramp?
Yeah,
We've done that a
spent the
couple
night.
times.
Yeah,
I
we
called
pretty
these
good at that.
called these 2 tonight before teal season, asking how y'all going in the morning. They're like, we're here now. What do you mean you're here now? Finna go to bed. We are too. We're sleeping in the truck.
Sleeping in the truck.
That is dedication right there.
We're not the only ones. There's probably 26 boats out there.
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember.
yeah.
I think Kyle said y'all got there. It was at Wham Break. Got there
it
like
was
10:30 and was like number 19 in
I don't
line.
think I've done it since.
Good
I
gracious!
know we hadn't.
I
That
haven't
was
done
That
it
was the last
since.
one.
But I don't know if it's been as good as then since.
It hasn't been.
But
For
man, the
one
key is
reason or another.
water, and just I haven't done. I'll be honest with you, I haven't looked around, I hadn't scouted, I talked to Maddie yesterday about a little bit of it, but I hadn't even seen what's going on with teal right now.
We got a little water, and I saw a few teal this past weekend on the farm, but most of what water we got is just slap covered in lily pads.
Oh yeah,
The grass is good. The lily pads not so much.
Right.
there's not much benefit in the lily pad.
Topwater frog out there.
You can throw a topwater frog out there.
Catch a bass.
It's a good place for a cottonmouth tide too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
is.
That's what I almost stepped on one of my waders walking out, but kind of talk about Wham Break. The creepy thing about Wham Break is like we'll always have a couple boats, and we'll end up being like 300 yards apart, and you're gonna go before daylight, walk over to your buddies in another boat, and you walk over, and then you spin around and shine the light back at your boat, and you see about 3 sets of alligator eyes in between where you just walk through the boat, and that's always fun.
Yeah.
Never had none of them.
I always tell people, they won't mess with you. They're like, yeah, you try to get away from them anyway, though.
Still eerie. That's right.
Yeah, I think the best teal hunt we ever had, it was right after Katrina followed. Well, and then Rita was right after, and Rita's the one that
We had
really
a
brought the
Beanfield
rain
flood.
up here.
Yeah.
And I mean, our whole farm was under.
Well, ours was
when
too.
you
And we had a
pulled-
Beanfield flood, and it was stupid.
Yeah, when you pulled in off the road, I mean, it was just water all the way as far as you could see.
But teal were like that too.
We were back there in the middle of the road. I mean, we're in the middle of the road, just somewhere where it was shallow enough to stand up was in the middle of our main road, and had a couple dozen decoys out. And I mean, just smoked them day after day consistently
Big wads.
throughout teal season.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
Well,
like I said, it's been several years since I've killed them consistently. It really has. And I know some guys do, and they put the effort into it. I know some guys do, but I have not in the last several years. Hopefully that'll change this year, but we'll see.
Hope so. It is hurricane season.
You are right.
You want to end it, Caleb?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, guys, y'all don't forget this coming up weekend is no tax. Come get everything you need for dove season, teal season, duck season, Heck, next spring turkey season, Christmas, don't wait till after this weekend. Have to pay sales tax. Come get it. Guys, you can reach us 318-283-2688. Put it on layaway for no tax. Layaway on no tax. It's no tax, no interest, no excuses not to get the new gun you want, all your Christmas stuff and everything this weekend, the 4th, 5th, and 6th. And we'll see y'all next week on the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast.
We have a special guest next week as well, talking a lot of deer stuff.
I forgot about that. Coming, if you can make it to Simmons Sporting Goods this week, the Real Tree crew will be here and bringing Michael Waddell.
He'll be here talking deer hunting. So we'll get into that a little bit more on social media this week, next 2 weeks. So just follow along with that.
See y'all next week, guys.
See ya.